Hello gorgeous, it is Ethereal Mother, your favorite artist, psychic, and astrologer, and welcome to the July 2025 Astro Tea of what's happening celestially. So let's get into all of the amazing transits that July is about to hit us with. So grab your tea or some wine, light a candle, whatever feels good to you, and let's get into this month's astrology. But first, please like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for joining me today. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I have my notes ready, so let's get into our first transit of July 2025. So we have Venus and Gemini happening on July 4th, and it's asking you, are you feeling the pressure to look perfect, to say the right thing, or constantly prove your worth in love or creativity? Venus and Gemini is here to shake things up in the best way possible. So Venus, our planet of love, beauty, and personal values, is entering curious, chatty, and dualistic Gemini. And this transit is a cosmic permission slip, basically, to stop performing and to start experiencing. So Venus and Gemini wants us to live in the present moment. Think children who are very curious and expressive and open to new possibilities. Gemini's energy doesn't overthink feelings, it explores them. So this month, flirt with the idea to be playful in conversation and let your creativity flow across multiple mediums. And it's not about sticking to one aesthetic, it's definitely about letting all of the sides of you be seen. So think experimenting with your style, maybe changing your hair color, something like that, journaling your inner dialogue, speaking your desires before they're perfect. And so a few Venus and Gemini celebrity examples is Kanye West. I know that he is controversial, which is definitely like an understatement, but he is such a master at tuning into his words and fashion and always making these very, most of the time, outlandish cultural statements, and also unpredictable as well. And then we have Lady Gaga, who is someone who is constantly reinventing herself, and that's very Gemini's mutability and Venusian artistry at its finest. And you don't have to be a celebrity to do any of that. You can just embrace who you are and be willing to evolve as well. Now let's take a peek at some of the transits that Venus is going to be going through in July. So first up, we have Venus trine Pluto in Aquarius. So this is the next level creative power. Pluto helps us to pull inspiration from our shadows, and Aquarius helps us to repackage it for the future. With all of the AI noise and chaos and aesthetic clones online, what people crave right now is authenticity. So don't be afraid to share the messy, the real, the weird parts of you. That is your magic. And so next up, we have Venus sextile Saturn in Aries, and we're also learning how to love our boundaries. This isn't about cold attachment, it's about being available without abandoning yourself. So definitely ask yourself, can you enjoy someone without trying to own them? Can you stay emotionally present without over-investing too soon? And so this aspect is about knowing your value and not letting it get watered down just to avoid discomfort. And so some real life examples to kind of consider. I think one example is the online discourse about like, you have to drop $200 to demonstrate your value on the first date. And that doesn't make any sense. So Venus says that chemistry and a price tag, the chemistry is gonna be up here. And in this economy and after the pandemic, everyone has just been kind of like trying to reestablish their foundation. So, and I think it's really important to pay attention to what matters in a connection to you, and Venus, what you value. So can you have a real conversation with this person? Do your values align? And even a walk, a little coffee date, a run to the bookstore can reveal so much about a person, like the types of books they like to read, you know? I love how dating coach Anwar breaks this down, and if you want to go deeper into navigating the dating world, I highly recommend literally anything he has to offer. Another aspect to look at is Venus sextile Neptune and Saturn, which is really helping us to get clearer on different things. So it'll definitely help you to notice that it's harder to be delulu in love, friendships, and even how we spend our time. And it's definitely like the universe saying, romanticize your life, but also get very honest and real about your patterns. So basically, what did you crave as a child that you still seek in relationship today? Where are you sacrificing your voice and your values just to be chosen? And Venus in Gemini wants us to be curious, not critical, and to use that insight to build something balanced and long lasting. And so if you are navigating a relationship dynamic or trying to rediscover your creativity, this is a perfect time to book a reading with me. The link is down below. And also, if this resonated, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment what your Venus sign is and how do you express your love in your own unique way. For example, I have a Venus in Scorpio, so I can be very intense when it comes on to love, but I'm very devoted, very faithful, maybe a little possessive, but hey, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm asking myself these questions. The next transit we have is Neptune retrograde in Aries, also happening on July 4th. And it's asking, what if the dreams you've been sold were never meant to include us? What if the fantasy was a lie? And now we're finally waking up. So on July 4th, like I said, Neptune goes retrograde in Aries, and this is not your average soft and dreamy transit because of Aries right there. So it's definitely like peeling back the illusion. The moment we confront our role in the fantasy, the growth can definitely begin. So Neptune rules dreams, illusions, spirituality, or collective yearning to escape. Aries is bold, impulsive, action-oriented, and it's all about your identity and courage and new beginnings as well. So what happens when illusion meets initiative? We start romanticizing the past and start reckoning with it. So a pretty good real-world example is Neptune's illusion and the so-called American dream. And what I really want people of color to really understand is that this dream was so carefully constructed that you have to be asleep to experience it. And it was never designed with everyone in mind. Bars. Especially, like I said, people of color, not women, and especially not anyone outside of the mold of white male privilege. And so back when Trump ran for president under Neptune and Pisces, which was earlier this year, he built this campaign as a fantasy of like using fear and propaganda to get the votes that he wanted. So he created false promises rooted in racism, power, and fear, like I said. And so now with Neptune retrograde in Aries, we're watching that illusion collapse and completely unravel in real time, which is crazy. For example, we have the Latinos for Trump. And many of them have been deported.
This is unfair. I'm so sorry I can't talk enough. Let me ask you. I'm going to say that to my mom. My mom has a heart attack.
Judelka Mejia cannot believe she's going back home without her nephew, 29-year-old Yasael Almonte Mejia.
We have tariffs, which crippled businesses big and small. We have Project 2025, which is a dangerous dismantling of civil liberties. And we have reproductive rights rolling back, silenced or erased. And so this retrograde is asking us, where have you voted, acted, or stayed silent in ways that went against your own interest? Neptune retrograde invites reflection and radical self-honesty, not shame, but accountability. And we'll get into this in just a second, but a lot of people do try to blame Trump for a lot of things that are happening in this world, but there's people around him who are enabling this behavior, enabling these types of decisions. So it's not just, you know, he's kind of the figurehead of all the chaos that's happening, but he has a whole team of people that moves in sequence with him. And so Neptune rules escapism, and sometimes we need it just a little bit, especially with the emotional manipulation we experience through nonstop media, headlines, and fear-mongering, propaganda. And then there's a thin line between rest and numbing, so you definitely have to figure out which one you're doing. And the more exhausted and confused and burnt out we are, the easier we are to control. It's not just emotional, it's strategic, and for many it's working. Neptune in Aries is here to snap us out of it. A perfect example, I referenced this in a previous video about how if you think back to 2020 and the fear-mongering and propaganda put people in this place where they started to buy all the toilet paper instead of, you know, vitamins and cleaning supply. It was just crazy, and that's kind of what it feels like. Everyone is making very Aries impulsive decisions without thinking about the consequences. So let's go a little bit deeper. So the last time that Neptune was in Aries was during the American Civil War in 1961 through 1965. So back then, the South fought to preserve slavery and white dominance. The North, they didn't want the South to expand, and seeing them as anti-educated, anti-industry, and economically regressive. And here we are once again, where you have Trump supporters who are primarily uneducated white men. And so his playbook was the same old propaganda, appealing to the supremacy, the fear, and the hierarchy that should have died a very long time ago. And yet he is still able to profit off of all of this. And so many communities, like the Latinos for Trump, believe their proximity to whiteness could grant them protection. And so these systems were never built for them, and I hope that this is a very clear image of exactly what people have been saying since 2016, actually. I remember having these conversations with people who were not white, and I was like, I think you really need to reconsider this. And it was like, oh, but the tax breaks and all the, and it's like, no, baby, you're not, like, no. It's a terrible idea. Please stop. So again, like I said, hopefully this is a very clear sign that these systems were not built for them, just like they weren't built for all of us, except if you're a white man. And so now the thing that people voted for is being weaponized against them, really against the people who try to defend these things. And so, like I said, Neptune in Aries is really ripping off that mask, and it shows us that no amount of assimilation will buy our freedom, and in a system that profits from oppression. But I do think that there might be a very beautiful shift because of all this chaos. So in the 1820s and the 30s, during another Neptune and Aries cycle, there was transcendentalism, and it was a movement that was rooted in the belief that people are inherently good but corrupted by society. Right now, I do believe that people are waking up, some a little too late, but they're turning away from outdated systems, from government dependence and hollow leadership, and becoming the leaders they've been waiting for. And so this really is a call to action. So not to save the world overnight, you don't have to do all that, but definitely start small. So what you could do is you could barter with your neighbors. Like if they have some apples, you got some kale, or if this person has tomatoes and you have chickens, somebody's getting chicken nuggets and some tomatoes. You know what I mean? That was anyway. So again, you could definitely grow food, you can learn new skills, build your own local network. And this is one of those things, it's resistance, even though it might not look like it, but it also is leadership too. And again, like I said, just taking more control of your life rather than escaping and hoping that this dream, this chaos, this nightmare will be over one of these days, and it's not going anywhere. Are you using your energy to escape or to build? Are you chasing dopamine or are you aligning? Are you looking at words or actions? Because the longer we stay passive, the more power we give away. And this retrograde is about reclaiming our power. So through thought, reflection, and responsibility and action, I think a lot of things can transform overnight. So I'll definitely go deeper into Trump's birth chart very soon. And make sure that you subscribe to my lovely channel if you are into political astrology or just want to see what the hell is wrong with this man. And if this video is helping you to see more clearly, comment down below. What illusions are you finally ready to release? The next transit we have is Uranus entering Gemini on July 7th. So it is asking us, what if the key to surviving the chaos is unlocking your inner genius? So the Uranus, the planet of disruption, rebellion, and innovation, enters curious, fast-thinking Gemini, bringing in a tidal wave of technological breakthroughs, revolutionary ideas, and nervous system level awakenings. So this transit has everything, including flying cars, alien conspiracies, World War III fears, internet teachers, and the rise of everyday revolutionaries. So let's break it all down. So Uranus in Gemini is the energy of electric thought, tech-driven communication, mind-expanding innovation, and community-based action. So it's fast, it's genius, and it's also very unpredictable as well. And most of all, it's all about using information and connection to fuel freedom. Gemini rules the nervous system, and if you have been feeling overstimulated, you're not alone. We're processing more data than ever before, and that, again, like I said, is strategic and it's not an accident. So definitely look into some grounding and stress relief meditations. I think would be really, really helpful. So some current events that's happening right now, we have Iran versus Israel, we have Trump versus the world. And so Uranus and Gemini offers a very powerful message. You don't need to wait for the government to solve everything, and you can build your own world from the ground up. Again, there's so many incredible resources out there to help you get from point A to point B. And so you can also think about hydroponics instead of grocery store dependency. You can think about bartering instead of broken economic systems, and community tech to fill the gaps left by outdated leadership. The last time that Uranus was in Gemini was in 1941 and 1949. So what happened? Well, we had the introduction to World War II, which introduced radar, code-breaking technology, and intellectual warfare. We also had the 1947 Roswell UFO crash. And yes, that absolutely happened during this transit, and I feel like we might see some other UFO alien activity over the next few years. So also the Cold War began along with propaganda, mass manipulation, and tech-fueled fear. So what could we potentially see? Like I said, we could see more UFO sightings or revelations about aliens and extraterrestrials. We also could have more digital surveillance and psychological warfare, or a new tech-driven resistance powered by the people. With AI and internet, Uranus, Gemini broadcasting energy, news spreads like wildfire. So the truth can't be stayed bare for too long. So if we do see some aliens, I think all of us are going to know about it within 24 hours. Okay, so let's look at the education system, which needs renovation for sure. And it's dissolving, which is really unfortunate. We're already seeing teachers and creators and healers take their platforms online. And pairing this with Jupiter in Cancer right now, Jupiter being the teacher, Cancer being the home, maybe there might be some more parents who will start homeschooling, which is a possibility. And we're also entering a golden era of learning from your living room, which is very possible, even if you're not like a child. Or maybe just have more childlike curiosity with that Gemini energy right there. So with ChatGPT, Google, YouTube, there really is no excuse to not grow and learn a few new skills by the end of this transit. Like I said, new skills can equate to some sort of freedom. And freedom is exactly what Uranus wants for you. So in tarot, Uranus actually rules the Fool card. Just because it's called the Fool does not mean it's dumb. They simply are brave, and they take these leaps of faith into the unknown with nothing but the wisdom from the past and hope for the future. So this is where we are right now. We're in this taking a leap of faith type of consistently in these situations actually. And we don't need to figure it all out right now, but you do need to be open to different possibilities and grounded enough to move with change, because change is inevitable. And so for some inspiration, here are some Uranus and Gemini celebrities. We have Jimi Hendrix, who revolutionized music with raw energy and electric innovation. We have Aretha Franklin, who used her voice to change both music and civil rights as well. And there's been multiple occasions where she posted bail for Black activists. And so we have Muhammad Ali, who was very eloquent and powerful and very rebellious as well. He didn't just fight in the ring, he also fought the system as well. So none of these were traditional revolutionaries, but they were authentic, and they used their gifts to inspire change and to make moves behind the scenes. And you can also do the same as well without being on the front lines. So here's the thing. Uranus and Gemini is a very interesting transit, but it can represent mental overload. So the nervous system can be very fried with all the stimulation, so definitely slow down. Like I said before, practice grounding techniques and meditations. Use EFT tapping, and also go touch some grass. Get a little bit of sunlight, you know? And this keeps your intuition online so you don't fall into fear, group thinking, or manipulation either. And the truth of the matter is people are easier to control when they're burnt out. So if you keep And again, like I said, with, I think it was Neptune and Aries, keeping you tired is not a coincidence, it is a strategy. So the real message of Uranus and Gemini is to think for yourself, to learn something new, to act locally and not globally, and don't wait to be saved. Start small and start now. Whether that's growing tomatoes or teaching online, trading with neighbors, or simply using your voice, that is a revolution. And all of these different methods are extremely powerful and needed as well. And so definitely let me know in the comments if you have any wild downloads or any ideas that you've had this month. Uranus is definitely speaking through us all. And also comment below what's one crazy idea you've had lately that might just change everything. Up next, we have a full moon in Capricorn happening on July 10th, and it's asking, have you ever felt like no matter how much you do, it's still not enough, like your worth is tied to your output? This full moon in Capricorn is here to ask, at what cost are you chasing success, and is it even your definition of success? Let's talk about what full moons are all about: culmination and release. And also Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the planet of discipline, responsibility, and structure. So with the moon and Capricorn energy kind of combining forces, this is about your goals and altering them to focus more on emotional maturity and energetic strategy. And this lunation is also asking us to take a deep look at how we've built our lives, especially around work, responsibility, and achievement. And it's asking, are you thriving or surviving? And the moon is definitely going to be shining a light on different things that we're kind of carrying silently. And so the belief that we have to earn our worth through hard work. And also ask yourself, do I feel valuable when I'm productive? Am I overworking myself just to feel seen or validated? Do I believe I deserve rest? These beliefs don't just appear, they are often inherited, sometimes even stored in our bodies and DNA, definitely referencing the symbolism of the moon. And so you may be carrying generational pressure, messages passed down from parents and grandparents, and cultural systems as well. And the full moon really does want us to release these patterns. And we've also been taught that rest is laziness, but Capricorn in its highest form knows that rest is preparation. Rest is where clarity, creativity, and regeneration begins. Rest is also productive. Shout out to my therapist who told me that years ago. And so if your body has been asking for slowness, please listen. Not because you're giving up, but because you're tuning into what your body needs at this time. So let's get a little practical, Capricorn. And so Capricorn rules the bones and structure. The moon rules the stomach and emotional rhythms. So when the two meet, your body is sending signals, sometimes very loud ones. So definitely pay attention to energy spikes and crashes. It could represent dopamine overload from social media, sugar, or doom scrolling. Mental fatigue disguised as laziness. The need for real food, not just snacks, and quick caffeine fixes. So definitely get your hormones checked, very moon energy as well. And eat in a way that supports your nervous system, not just your cravings. And build structure around your energy, not just your to-do list. And again, your body is not a machine. It is a map, and it's trying to lead you home and to feel more safe within your body. So here are a few things that you can do during the full moon. So we have some journal prompts. What beliefs about work or worth did I inherit? Where do I need more structure, and where do I need more softness? A few rituals that you can do as well is write a new definition of success that includes rest, balance, and joy. Nourish your body from grounding meals, so definitely think root veggies, warm teas, and slow eating. And definitely schedule time to just do nothing. Literally do nothing. Just kind of, like, it would be really amazing to kind of go for a walk and pay attention to different things that you might find. Might even try to do like a treasure hunt sort of thing, like try to find a yellow flower, try to find a couple bugs, maybe a lizard, I don't know. Just trying to kind of get back into exploring your surroundings to help you stay present and not getting so overwhelmed with all the chaos that is strategically being placed in front of our faces. And your nervous system will definitely thank you. And so comment down below, what are you choosing to release under this full moon? All right, the next transit and heavy hitter that we have is Saturn retrograde in Aries, happening on July 13th. So what happens when your anger turns inward and courage is put to the test? Saturn retrograde retrograde in Aries isn't about reckless action. It's about rebuilding the self from the inside out. And this is a very powerful moment to check your foundation, your fears, and your fire. And if you have been feeling the pressure to lead, rebuild, or restrain yourself, you're not alone. Saturn is the planet of karma, responsibility, and structure, and long-term planning and lessons as well. Aries is about impulsive leadership, courage, and personal will. When Saturn stations retrograde in Aries, the message is very clear: to slow down, to look within, and to ask yourself, are you acting with integrity or reacting? This is about strategic courage, not ego-driven moves. It's about learning how to hold fire without burning out. The most fascinating thing that I'm interested in watching unfold during this transit is Saturn and Aries both rules father, men, and traditional authority figures. So we're seeing a lot of karmic accountability play out at this time. So we have Trump's reputation, Saturn, that is crumbling, and that's Saturn exposing false strength and manipulative power plays. And then we also have another example, which is Tyler Perry and his alleged treatment of his male staff. And Saturn in Aries does not tolerate toxic control. And this is not the first time for Trump or Tyler Perry that they have been pushed to take accountability for their actions and to grow and evolve. So we will definitely see what happens, because Saturn is the energy of blockages and creating more challenges for yourself because you're not either being your authentic self, being honest, or willing to be mature, basically. This transit is definitely testing the structures built by patriarchy and offering consequences to those who abuse authority. So if you've grown up internalizing toxic masculinity or hyper independence or silence around anger, this retrograde is asking you to rewrite that narrative. Again, with retrogrades, it helps you to turn your energy inward. So when a fire, Aries, gets trapped inside a structure, Saturn, it turns to resentment, depression, or explosive emotions. So it makes me think about January 6th insurrection and how everyone was very emotionally reactive, weaponized by political manipulation. And the algorithms and media is designed to keep people angry and afraid and easily controlled. So Saturn retrograde is saying to take your fire back and don't be emotionally baited by headlines, and to really practice discipline over your reactions as well, because that is your true power. And again, nobody is asking you to save the world, but Saturn is asking, what systems can you help rebuild? So for example, with Black Americans and marginalized communities, now is the time to really get serious about shopping locally, mentoring and mental health, education reform, and community garden and food security. Saturn also rules agriculture, and Aries begins to speed things up. So tools like hydroponics, for example, would be a great option, and it can grow things a lot faster in uncertain times, also in different seasons as well. So pro tip, this would be a great time to buy some heirloom seeds. They're non-GMO and foods and fruits and stuff like that our ancestors used to eat. And this is definitely real independence, because you can start growing and building and sharing what you've grown. And also it makes me think about bringing it back to Uranus and Gemini. I remember I had this astral travel, I want to say last year or the year before, and basically showing me that there is going to be a spike in genetically modified foods. Like I remember seeing black tomatoes, and when you opened it up, it just looked so strange. And there's going to be a lot of propaganda around, try this food, this new food. Or if you think, I think I referenced this in a previous video, it was a scene from SpongeBob and how they were like 3D printing burgers. And SpongeBob was like, where's the love? Like, it's not there. It's not there. So it's very interesting time. So I think definitely if you are fearful of what they could be putting in your food, now's the time to figure out how to grow your own food. Also, quick side note, once again, bringing it back to Uranus and Gemini, go on Facebook. There's a lot. I just found the other day when I was preparing the script for the video, there's so many Facebook groups that will help you learn. I remember I talked to a beekeeper years ago, and he was like, yeah, you can link up with the group on Facebook, and they can show you how to get your bees, how to set everything up for them, how to take care of them. There's also Black centered groups on Facebook that can really help you get started when it comes down to gardening. Like, again, there's so many options. You just have to be open to looking for them or letting these opportunities come to you. like I wasn't even searching for anything, but it popped up on my algorithm on Facebook, which is scary at when you think about it, but it was helpful information. So also Saturn in Aries often brings up deep-rooted fear of failure, like trying isn't even worth it unless it's perfect. So, but Saturn does not reward perfection. Saturn rewards effort, endurance, and growth. And Aries gives you the courage to just simply try, see what it's about, even if it's just a little terrifying, just a little bit. And again, you really truly do not need to be an expert, but you just need to start. Just that's it. That's really it. And also remember that there are people out there offering free knowledge, guidance, and community support. And so please use it, like I mentioned before, with Facebook groups and stuff like that. Like, you truly never know what you will find, what information they can offer. And when it comes down to Facebook, a lot of those people on there literally have nothing but time. So which time is ruled by Saturn, so funny enough. It is okay that not everyone is meant to lead a movement, but Saturn in Aries is asking us to reflect on, can you trust yourself to make better decisions? Do the leaders you follow have integrity and emotional maturity? Do they understand the system and how we need to change it? Do they speak truth, or do they just play to fear? This is about your inner leadership first, then collective action, and in that order. And so here are some interesting Saturn in Aries past historical events. So we have the 1969 moon landing prep, Saturn discipline, Aries pioneering. Definitely think Elon Musk and his Mars colonization dreams. From what I saw on his website, he is planning to do something in 2026. So we shall see what happens with that. We also have the 1996 Dolly the Sheep cloning. And so it definitely raised a lot of deep ethical questions around science and creation. And then we also have the civil rights movement and anti-war protests, which was led by a lot of the youth. It was definitely action met with systematic resistance. And so we also had the women's suffrage movement, Aries independence pushing through Saturn resistance. I think it is unfortunate that watching today, we see white women voting against reproductive rights to maintain the proximity to patriarchal privilege, or just privilege in general. And again, Saturn is reminding us that karma doesn't skip anyone. It really doesn't. And so if you are feeling the tension between wanting to act but unsure how, please remember that you are being refined. You are not stuck right now. But if you need a little bit more clarity, definitely book a personal reading with me to see how the Saturn retrograde, or just Saturn in general, is going to be affecting the topics around leadership, responsibility, and your purpose. The link is going to be down below. And so guess what? We have another retrograde. So we have Mercury retrograde in Leo happening on July 18th. And if your ex texts you, you get that "hey big head" text, you know the retrograde is happening. You know it's here. And I just remember, I tried to warn you. I really tried. So let's go a little bit deeper. This isn't just about old flames resurfacing. It's also your invitation to redefine your voice, to rewire your ego, and to reconnect with your inner confidence. And no, this is not about killing your ego. This is about what's really going on. So Mercury retrograde is a review, a rewrite, a realignment. And Leo, expression, creativity, pride, and the heart space, or just the heart in general. So this transit is asking, are you communicating from the heart or just reacting from your ego? And it's time to really pause and reflect and rewrite your inner narrative. So yes, you might hear from your exes. It's highly probable. And you might second guess a creative project or feel misunderstood, but all of this is helping you to reconnect with your authentic self. And so I really want to get clear on something, because I hear these same type of conversations floating around in specifically spiritual communities. So let's clear this up for a second. So I hear people say you need to kill the ego or go through an ego death. So here's the truth. You're not supposed to kill the ego. You're meant to rebalance it. And so let's bring it back to Freud. And so if you remember the id, the ego, and the superego, the id being your primal urges, it's what you want right now, like eating, sleeping, sex. And then you have the superego, which is societal pressure, conditioning, and sometimes it can show up as guilt or shame. And then you have the ego, which is the bridge between both, which is helping you to navigate life and hopefully improve your decision making. So when the ego is weak, you might get pulled too far in either direction. So again, with the superego, you could become a people pleaser or someone who is codependent or is obsessed with approval. That could be very Trump coded. You also have the id, you lose control to raw emotions, lust, anger, or entitlement. So but when your ego is strong and healthy, you move with clarity, you express yourself boldly, and you know who you are even when no one's watching. You just love being by yourself and creating and just enjoying your own presence. And that definitely is the Leo energy highest expression as well. So what's going on with Mercury right now? So it's definitely going to be stirring up thoughts, especially your self-talk, your identity, how you communicate with yourself and others. And so this is a great time for self-inquiry and self-curiosity. So definitely ask yourself, what's my definition of confidence? Where am I too reactive or too avoidant? How can I express myself with more truth and less pride? And what parts of my story do I need to rewrite? Mercury is giving you mental curiosity, and Leo gives you the creative courage to really go there. Go deep if you need to. And so I love how in tarot you have the Strength card, which is ruled by Leo, and it's the perfect symbol for this transit in my opinion. So you have the picture of this lion, which would be the id energy, your primal urges. The lion is calm, is standing next to a very serene woman who would represent your higher self and your ego mastery. She's taming this lion not with force but through grace, confidence, and inner balance. And so Mercury retrograde in Leo definitely mirrors that duality. So you have the heart and the mind, the impulse and the insight, and then you have power and patience. And so if problems arise, this retrograde, technical, relational, emotional, don't force the situations. You just have to observe and figure out how to navigate these different situations with the information that you have absorbed. Creativity can lead you through what pride might push you away from. So let's talk about one of the most popular Leo risings right now, which is Donald Trump. And so Mercury retrograde in Leo is hitting his public image and things could get very loud. So I'm predicting that there might be a public miscommunication. There could be ego-driven rants or statements that backfire. There could be leaked documents, financial scandals, or subpoenas. And misunderstood tweets, speeches, or legal dramas could resurface. So with Mercury ruling his second house, which is your money and resources, and then you have your 11th house, which is political allies, networks, the drama could affect his power, image, and alliances. And so retrograde can expose things that are hidden because you're being very sloppy and dismissive of specific things. And then if his pride is bearing the truth, it could be revealed. So I'll definitely go deeper, like I said before, into Trump's chart in a separate video. Definitely make sure you subscribe so that you can see what's gonna go down, because it's a lot of information, but it's so fascinating. And so a few ways that you can work with this transit: answering a few journal prompts, where do I feel misunderstood and how can I communicate more clearly? What does healthy confidence look like to me? And where am I performing versus where am I being real? And some creative rituals that you can do is speak affirmations out loud and in your real voice. Reconnect with your inner child's creative spark. And your daily Mercury retrograde checklist is going to be double check emails, text messages, or contracts, and avoid impulsive public post or clapbacks. Please reflect before reacting, especially in love and leadership as well. And definitely comment down below, what ego stories are you ready to rewrite at this time? So on July 22nd, the sun is entering Leo, which means that we need to cue the glitter, the drama, the spotlight. And basically Leo season is here. So happy birthday to all my Leo babies. This is definitely your season to be bold, unapologetic, and to shine as brightly as you possibly can. And this is really about tuning into your confidence, your creativity, and the courage to fully be you. And since the sun is in its home sign of Leo, which means the energy is going to be big, radiant, and expressive, Leo rules creativity, confidence, a little bit of drama, and heart-centered leadership. It's the perfect time to start that passion project, post that selfie that you've been holding on to, speak on something you believe in, and lead with your authentic fire. And Leo energy says, I know who I am and I'm not afraid to show it. But with all the solar power comes responsibility. This is where we check in with ourselves. So are you leading or just performing? Are you confident or overcompensating? Are you shining or demanding to be seen? Leo at its best is radiant, generous, and magnetic. And Leo in its shadow can be very prideful, attention-seeking, Trump, and even a little dramatic, Trump. So take the stage, but also be willing to share the spotlight when the moment calls for it. That is definitely a trait of true leadership that uplifts everyone, not just itself. And even if you're not a Leo, this season is still for you, because Leo teaches us something unforgettable, which is when you are who you are, the world will adjust. Leo energy isn't about asking for permission. It's not shrinking to make others comfortable. It's taking up space with purpose and showing others that they can do the same. So if you have been playing small, this is definitely your cosmic permission slip to show up louder, bolder, and more in love with your own magic. And so for a mini check-in, what's one thing you've been too shy to share? What would it look like to express yourself without fear of being too much? And how can you celebrate yourself literally just because? Use this season to create, to laugh, to perform, and to rest like royalty. Get you some like soft blankets and pillows. And remember, Leo also rules the heart, so make sure whatever you're doing it with love. And for my Leo babies, if you guys want a birthday astrology reading or tarot reading, definitely book a personal reading with me. The link will be in the description below. Also, drop a comment. What's one way you're celebrating yourself this Leo season? I would really love to know. And once again, happy birthday to my Leo babies, the icons, the creators, the lovers, and the leaders. Next up, we have a new moon in Leo happening on July 24th, kind of giving the same vibe as the sun in Leo. So it's asking, when's the last time you did something just because it made you feel happy? Not just for money, not for a post, not for praise, just for a little bit of joy. Now with this new moon in Leo, it's a reminder to reconnect with the things that light you up and to heal the parts of you that you forgot about. This is your invitation to play, to dream, and to start again with love. So the new moon is all about fresh starts, planting seeds, and a reflection. And then you have Leo again, which is creativity, self-expression, confidence, and heart-led leadership. So together, they're asking you, what do you want to create from the soul, not just your ego? But also here's the thing, Leo energy can bring out our shine, but it also can expose insecurities too. The kind that hides behind pride, perfection, insecurities, and fear of failure. So this isn't just about new projects. It's also about letting go of self-doubt and finally giving yourself permission to play again. Leo does rule children, so I think that this would be a perfect time to reconnect with your inner child and remembering that joy is a medicine. Here is one simple ritual that I highly recommend, which is grabbing a coloring book. It could be SpongeBob, Hello Kitty, Transformers, whatever. Grab that 64 pack of crayons or whatever art supplies you really want to use. Turn on your favorite childhood TV show and color whatever you want. And why, you might ask? Because it's fun and it's therapeutic. So coloring actually activates parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. You also can reduce stress and lower cholesterol levels. You can break cycles of overthinking and intrusive thoughts, and it gives you a safe way to express your feelings through color. This is sacred self-care. This is joy as a ritual. This is your nervous system regulating, but it's disguised as play. And also when you're coloring or resting, you can definitely listen to affirmations around courage, confidence, worthiness, and self-love, and really let those words sink in to rewire the parts of your mind that forgot your value. And that does not depend on being productive or focus on how perfect you are. You deserve to take up space, you deserve softness, and you deserve to feel proud of who you are, not just what you can produce. And so a few ways to work with this new moon is journaling. So you can kind of start with, what did I love to do as a child? How can I bring that into my adult life? Where do I feel blocked in my creativity and why? What kind of love do I need to give myself right now? And also, again, like I said before, color something silly and fun. Write a letter of encouragement to your younger self. You could also create a mood board of the kind of life that makes your heart full. And you could also wear or light a candle that is orange or yellow and affirm, I am worthy of joy, self-love, and creative freedom. And comment down below, what's one small thing you'll do this week just for joy? I would really love to start a thread of what some activities everyone has been doing that has been very healing for them, and that way it can be inspirational for anyone else who crosses this thread. So let's get into it. The last and final transit of July 2025 is Venus in Cancer, happening on the 30th. So just because someone feels like home doesn't mean they're good for you. Please remember that. As Venus enters Cancer, the vibe is tender, nostalgic, and deeply emotional, and you might find yourself craving comfort, connection, or cocooning at home in a blanket. And so, but this transit also wants us to ask deeper questions. So is the love you're receiving actually nourishing, or is it just familiar? So Venus, love, beauty, values, pleasure, and relationships. And then we have Cancer, emotions, memory, nurturing, protection, and home all represent together that we're in a season of emotional intimacy, deep reflection, and care that comes from the heart, or wounds from the past. So you may want to stay inside more, you might crave closeness, home cooked meals, or cuddling on the couch, but you also need to watch out for emotional reactivity or passive aggressiveness. And so again, this transit can be very powerful because it could help you manifest a lot of beautiful things into your life, but it does come with its shadows. So Venus in Cancer also asks us to audit how we love and how we ask to be loved. And so basically saying, are you being nurturing, or are you being manipulative because you're afraid? Are you communicating your needs or expecting people to read your energy? Again, you're definitely going to have to be very real with yourself for a second. And for example, I have Venus in Scorpio, so I care deeply and emotionally. Honesty is very important to me. In the past, I have been prone to be possessive over my partners or falling too deeply into relationships without really getting to know the person, which is also problematic. So there's a lot there. But again, Venus in Scorpio can be very powerful. Even though Venus is not very comfortable in Scorpio, it's still really beautiful. So I love it. It's a lot, but I love it. So one thing this placement or this energy can kind of give off is passive aggression. And for me, it's very frustrating. Like I said before, I care very deeply about honesty and everything like that and all the connections that I make. So with passive aggressiveness, it's very confusing to me because it's like it silently places the responsibility on the other person or other people in general to fix the situation, and without ever speaking your truth. And so it's like, this thing can't get fixed if you don't communicate. And so with Venus in Cancer, it is definitely your moment to pause and say, am I showing love in the way that's healing or protective? Or it could be something that equates to self-sabotage as well. So you also might meet someone who feels familiar, maybe a bit cozy, like you've known them forever, but this doesn't always mean that it's safe. And so you definitely have to ask yourself, why does this person feel like home? Was your idea of home built around dysfunction, chaos, or emotional instability? And sometimes we mistake emotional intensity for emotional safety. Again, I have a Venus in Scorpio, so highly relatable. So please don't ignore the red flags. Just because the connection feels deep does not mean it is. And Cancer can attach very fast, but you deserve more than just familiarity. You deserve peace. So a great way to kind of recognize if something is for you or not is pay attention to your nervous system. If you feel on edge around someone, or your inner child is saying, I've seen this before and it didn't end well, that is your sign to make some adjustments immediately. And so again, this is a really powerful time for therapy, journaling, and working with a relationship coach to explore your emotional habits and relationships. Like I said before, dating coach Anwar is an incredible resource, and he has a ton of free stuff available from his TikTok, his YouTube, different interviews that he has done. So please check that out. And it's not about blame, it is simply about awareness. So Venus in Cancer wants to help you heal, and it wants your relationships to feel safe and like a warm place and not a trauma loop. And so don't forget, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So your inner child may emerge during this time through cravings, emotions, or old patterns. So be very gentle with yourself. That little baby inside of you is doing its best. I love how, if you think of Princess Diana, who had Venus in Cancer, she is such a good example, because you could definitely feel her nurturing energy from across the world, and she wasn't very loud. She was deeply felt. A lot of people really did mourn her death a lot heavier than many others, you know. And that's the kind of presence that Venus in Cancer brings. It's very soft, it's protective, it's nurturing, it's caring, and again, very powerful, even though it's not very loud. And so if you think back to June through July 2020 during the pandemic, Venus was also in Cancer. And so the outside world was very chaotic, but many people turned inward. They redecorated, slowed down, reconnected with family or not, or finally processed years of emotional tension and trauma. I too experienced that as well. And so that was Cancer's call to home, not just a place, but to ourselves. So I think this would be a perfect time to really freshen up your space, add some flowers, candles, or some art. And again, you can do it with any budget. I say this all the time. Do not sleep on Facebook Marketplace. You can find all kinds of stuff on there. Also, the whole point is to create a sanctuary that makes you feel safe, especially if we enter in more chaotic times than we currently are in. So definitely look into that. And so Cancer is the crab, soft on the inside, hard shell on the outside. And this is your reminder that you're allowed to be soft and to set boundaries. Protect your peace. Choose relationships that feel gentle, reciprocal, and clear. And again, like I said, I have Venus in Scorpio, so there's so many times that I was in relationships that did not reciprocate the kind of love that I was willing to put into it, because I'm the kind of person that will go above and beyond for you. Side note, check out Generous by Duran Bernard. I think that's a very Venus and Scorpio coded song. Maybe that's why I've been so obsessed with it. But anyway, this is a beautiful time to rethink love on a collective level. So what does your community care look like beyond capitalism? Can you support your local mutual aid or your neighbor in need? Can you cook a meal for someone just because? And this is Venus in Cancer at its best, so choosing care over performance and connection over competition. This transit is here to remind you that love should feel like peace and not panic. Home should feel safe and not familiar chaos. And softness is strength, it's not a weakness. If you want to explore what Venus in Cancer means for your personal relationships, again, definitely book a reading. Let's see what all this is about. And again, the link is going to be in the description box below. Also, comment down below what's one thing you're doing to nurture yourself or your relationships this week. And again, please let Venus in Cancer remind you that love, real love, does feel like peace. I know that was a lot. Thank you so much for riding this cosmic wave with me. I hope that all this information really prepares you for what's to come. And again, thank you for hanging out with me. So let me know in the comments what transit might hit you the hardest. Book a reading with me if you want a little bit more personal guidance, especially for my Leo babies, and we can definitely look at your year ahead. Like, subscribe, and share if any of this resonated. Please and thank you. And a gentle reminder that just like the planets, you're allowed to change and evolve. So, I love you, you are loved, you deserve love, and until next time, bye.